Eastern time. We're here. We're here for you. Chat's on. Chat's very important because it really kicks things off and gets us focused on where people want us to be that's relevant for them now. Today's topic, which seems to be another great addition to the programming format, is being proactive. And that gives everybody a little chance to think about it and share thoughts about it. Had some great shows this week. Want to applaud Charles and Paul for coming together. And also got some new guests coming up, always looking for new stories and inspirational individuals. And everybody's story is important and everybody's story should be heard. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kelly. Kelly can share a little bit about her thoughts. And like I say, let's start chatting.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday. This week is flying by, I can't believe it. I love today's topic, Dawn. I love how all of these topics of late, go into not just business, but personal. And proactive is definitely one of those. Speaking on the business side, I think so many people whether or not you're an entrepreneur, starting your own business, working in a startup or in an organization, we've all seen what being proactive as opposed to reactive looks like. And that can be such a struggle for so many of when and how to implement that in a business. And I think communities like this are where you need to come and talk about it. When do I hire more customer service, as an example? Because most businesses look as proactiveness being about we need more revenue, so we need more salespeople, as opposed to what does that look like? Because now we have more salespeople, we're creating more sales, we're going to need more customer service. When do we include more there? And then personally, I think this can go so deep because being proactive in our own personal life is a big deal. When do we choose to do something for ourselves? I know I can speak for myself. I've tended in my life and still struggle on an occasion to this day, as far as I put other people's wants, needs, what they need first, and put myself last. And which it needs to be reversed. I can only show up and give the best of myself when I give myself first. And like I said, I still have moments in time where that will be a like, ding, ding, ding. Hey, guess what? You put yourself last. But being proactive in how we choose what we're going to do with our lives going forward. And that can also include in business. Who are we working with? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? Because that does impact everything about what we do, how we show up, not just for ourselves, but for others. And that's part of what this community is, being proactive in our own lives. We're choosing to show up here, whether or not it's, for a few minutes every day, whether or not it's for one show a week or for a few minutes a week. You're making a choice to do something proactive for yourself, to benefit yourself. And that was the whole point of, I think, of how this has evolved and where we see it going, is just being that community of safety, support, that allows you to achieve things that maybe you didn't think you could achieve, or just to be there to support you and be like, gosh, I now feel confident enough to try that thing that I've been putting off and be proactive in my life. It's just kind of interesting how everything does come back to how it's about self and choice. What are your thoughts, Don?
I think you really shared some great insight that's easy to appreciate and understand. And more importantly, being proactive is about action. Right? I mean, you need to be proactive in your thought, but you have to realize there's another level of activity from wherever you're at. If you're sitting, standing is the next step. If you're standing, walking is the next step. And if you can take wherever you are and move to the next step, that puts you in position for another step. And everything is about, like we talked about, leaving the log pile bigger than you found it, advancing yourself in some way or another. And I think sometimes, and I'm realizing this in the old physical world, which let's say is over 4 years ago, before COVID and everything, people went to one person for their needs, right? One person to bank with, one person to share their life with, one person to go to school with. I mean, it was always one-on-one. And things have changed that now it's you as the one being applied to all these different circles, right? So now you get to plug in as a better person. And then everybody has judgment is what's good, what's bad, what's better, what's worse. I think happiness is a pretty good speedometer to tell you, how fast you're going, and a compass would help you out to tell you where you're going and what direction and how to get there. And I think it's just being a better you. And I think to Kelly's point, there's always going to be conflict and disengagement, right? There's always going to be joy and engagement. But when it comes time for someone to leave or both people to leave, it's a conflict, right? Because now you've got a past. You meet a stranger, you had nothing going on. It's pure, right? It's either yes or no. It's not, well, I owe you something, or maybe you're entitled to another chance. And you know what I found, because I had to terminate a lot of people over 37 years, is I just decided no one was bad or good. It just wasn't fitting anymore.
That's right.
Right? So both people were in an unfit situation that may have fit, and now it's time to find your new fit.
Yeah.
Right? So if it wasn't for financial situations, people would say, well, thanks for releasing me.
Yeah.
Right? I have all the money in the world. I think I can fit somewhere, and that's the whole thing, is explaining what it truly is to you. It may not be what it's truly to the other person. And it may not be what someone wants to hear, but it's something they need to hear in order to move on, but more importantly, to let you go, and that's why you do those things, is to find better opportunity for both peoples. And I think that's where people start with win-win, but when it's when it's win-lose or win don't play, how many times can you play ping pong with someone who never hits it back? Right? I mean, it just doesn't work too well. So let me, the biggest value to this whole show is the audience. Let me run through some wonderful names, but more importantly, some beautiful people. Lillian Howard's here. Hello. We welcome everybody who shares a goodness, kindness, loving message to others, and if that's all you have, then that's all you need, and that's your passport to the whole world, just like Jitendra. Greetings from India, Don and Kelly. Thank you so much. Mike is here almost every day. Howdy, Kelly and Don. You're all great to see and hear. Kim Wheatley Morris, another everyday regular, just a lovely person.
Yes,
welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Great topic, Don and Kelly. Looking forward to your insight. Hi, everyone. Oh, we got Charles here. Charles is so great. Greetings, but can't stay to an early morning tomorrow. Well, I love consistency, and you learn so much more if you carry on from where you just left off soon enough, right? If you read a page of a book and come back in a year, you might as well read the first page again. Right? But if you're going to be reading it, it's a continuation, and it's like those old movie things where you had a bunch of cards and you flip them fast, and all of a sudden you could see something developing with it.
Yes.
Am Jess, hello, bright people. Good evening from India. That what's also cool is when anybody from anywhere gets involved here, all of a sudden you see a great increase in everybody in that area, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's India, and everybody needs to hear the message wherever you're at with whoever you're at. And there's so many places in this country that aren't as free as other places and don't offer the same types of opportunity for all people. And this is a way, again, of peer-to-peer sharing something that maybe that's the only way people would understand it's available, right? until you get to the other side of the hill, you don't know what's there. But when you do, it adds a lot more perspective. So thank you. Christy's here. Lillian, how, hi. Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning, Christy. You're one of them. So
Yes.
nice to have you. Lillian, Charles Caldwell. Hi, Charles. Charles is one of the friendliest, proactive people carry their own weather with them, Steve Covey. Yeah, because you can wait for something to happen, and whatever it is going to happen when it happens. You creating something to happen isn't a choice between what may happen and what you make happen, and what you do make happen may be better than what you were hoping somebody would make happen for you. You can
Yes.
surprise yourself. What's your thoughts, Kelly?
I feel like, sometimes folks sit back and wait for life to happen to them. Like, I'm waiting for all this goodness to come to me. I'm waiting for happiness to arrive at my door. Well, it's not. You've got to go out and make it happen. And it takes effort. That's about being proactive. I can go sit on my couch and guess what? Nothing is going to come to me if I don't go out and make it happen. And that's for all of us, for everything. Does that mean that you can't have days where you sit on the couch and you don't want to get up because I just need to binge watch something? Sure, you can do that. Just don't live there, because nothing is going to change in your life. If you want to make a change, or, it doesn't mean that you have to be unhappy to make a change. I'm very happy, and I still look for change in life, because life is this, it's this short stop in this universe, if we want to look at this on a different plane. And why do I want to sit back and let it just pass me by, or watch it go by? This is my playground. I want to go have the best time I can possibly have while I'm here. And the worst thing that can ever happen, particularly in business or anything, is that, hey, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, big deal. It doesn't define who we are, but go make the change. Don't wait for the change to arrive, because it's not going to arrive. You've got to make it happen. And I think sometimes we can get lost in that, particularly in the workplace, and I've seen this with so many people over the years, that they feel stuck. Like, I have to stay here. I've been one of those. I'm in this situation and it sucks, but I don't know what to do about it because I can't change it. Well, no, you can change it, the situation, but you can change it by leaving.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean you have to leave at this very moment that you just finally realize, hey, I'm not happy here. Go make an exit strategy and find a way to get out. And that's even what this community is about, is reach out to people, talk to people, see who can help you. What are you looking for? How are you looking to change? What is the process to make an exit strategy? Because it can also be difficult to leave a job or, a client. I know that from personal experience. And sometimes it just helps to go talk to someone else and have them, hear you speak it. Because I know for me, most of the time I just need to go talk to someone else, not just to hear words back. I need to hear myself say it and then go, gee, what am I thinking? Of course I need to do X, Y, Z in order to, better my situation or to just change the situation. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Don?
Well, I think that life is more exciting when you're having more variety, right? I mean, if you ate the same thing every meal every day, you would still be nourished, right? I mean, you get your vitamins and whatever is in there, but the joy would start to diminish if you never had any change. And,
Mhm.
to your point, I was thinking when you said life's a playground, I think you in itself are a playground. And how do you play? Most people who love being proactive are always like, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. I'm ready. I'm here.
The golden retriever.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it's the point is the playing is where the result is, right? The planning, the getting ready, and that's why I always say mindset is the first step, but
Mhm.
without knowledge and then taking action with your mindset, with your knowledge, and testing. If you just looked at everything as a test until it was the final race or the important race, right? They take cars out to the track for 5 seconds and put them back into the garage after they test something, right? They don't run the race.
Yeah.
They don't suit up and get everything ready for a practice. And if you say, I'm in practice mode, right? Just like if you were in record mode before going to live mode, and you would say, throw me everything I haven't caught so I can see how much I need to improve myself to be good at this game. And if you look at everybody as a testing ground, that they're doing you a favor for any feedback. Too many people prepare for quality feedback and get disappointed when they get negative feedback. And
Yeah.
feedback is feedback. And take it for what it is. It's just feedback. It's not feed, hold on to. It's like, really, I never thought of it that way. That's interesting because that's what I look at people who criticize. I either think you don't know enough or I'm so confident it doesn't matter anymore.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm just looking to confirm what I believe in, not to find out what I believe in. And at a certain point, by moving on, you get a bigger sample. Did you ever see a poll of one? We just took a poll and this one person said this, so that's what everybody must think,
Right.
right? Versus the more you talk to, the more flavor, the more blend. And, proactivity, like everything else, builds proactivity. The more you do it, the more you get comfortable doing it, like this show,
Yes.
right? And then what used to scare you now fortifies you because now you've covered a new area. You've dedicated your time and thought to us and you got good at it. And when you get good at it, people know that even before you do sometimes. And everybody say, boy, I can't believe you're playing piano so good. And all you did was practice every day for a little bit, but you weren't really aware. And then if they see you doing anything they're not doing, you become a higher level for them to look at. Because even anybody doing LinkedIn Live, if the perception this is so difficult and intimidating, and the reality is just the opposite,
Yeah.
look at what the people who think it's so valuable think of you for crossing that bridge and being that person. At the end of the day, almost every word we come back to every day for our topic is based on trust.
Mhm.
Right? Whether it's communication, and you got to trust yourself to trust yourself.
Yep.
If someone said to you, "Hey Kelly, can I have an opportunity to cook something for you today, or try out a new pan, or whatever they came up with," you'd say, "Sure, give it a run." Right? If that's what you're into and it's here, enjoy it, whatever it is, and that's what you're actually saying to yourself. Can I try some new things today? Can I go beyond where I'm used to being?
Mhm.
Can I also come back if it doesn't work out? Because that was always my thought. It's not what am I getting into, is can I get out of here if it's not what I want? If I know I can leave at any time and there's no issue, I'll look and walk into anything for a second if there is some reason to.
Yeah.
And every time you say no to yourself or you say no to life, you just subtracted from your day.
Yeah.
Right? Every time you say, I really wanted that, but I was afraid to ask for it, or it would have been really cool to get it, but I can't afford it. One last thing I'll say, because it reminds me of raising kids, is in the early days, and we were doing pretty good financially, so that wasn't a big challenge, is kids would always come to you and say, I need this, I want this, I want this. And I would always say, well, it's really not worth it, or we can't afford that, you know? And then after a while, I thought to myself, well, that's not true. I said, kids, I just figured something out. We can afford it. You don't deserve it. That's what I figured out. If you did something that was worth it, I'm sure we could have figured out how to get it for you. So now it's on you to figure out how to deserve it, not on me to have to justify why I can't pay for it or I don't want you to have it.
Mhm.
you know and that's how they got raised. I said, all you're getting here is a roof, food, and clothes. Everything is on you after that. and you could use those three things forever, right?
Yes.
Right. But, you know, that's the way the world is. And if I could be here forever to be with you and make sure you got what you wanted, I would do it. But I'd be doing you a disservice. And, you know, after a while, talking to people, they makes them understand. You know, people assume people don't know something is because they're dumb. It's because they never learned it.
That's
Right?
right.
No one taught it to them. So now you've got a responsibility. So, anyways, let's cover more people before we get lost here. Paul, okay. Hi, Paul. Paul was just so great. Introduced me to a gentleman, Scott McGregor, introduced me to 4 other people last week. You know, Paul is really picking up the pace here, because I think he and most people are starting to understand sharing is caring. The more you can promote other people around you, the more goodwill you're going to get from those people over time. And if not, they're going to think gratitude and wonderful thoughts that I think can influence things beyond just the words of them.
Yes.
And you know, it's so cool to have a 26-year-old role model for a lot of people who haven't learned what Paul's been able to do. So I mean, you know, take a snapshot of Paul today and fast forward 10 or 20 years.
Yes.
You're going to see this initial learning and foundation.
I remember Paul when.
Yeah, well, maybe, hopefully, he'll remember us.
Yeah, yeah.
Is here. Happy Wednesday. Pauline Elder Morris, I haven't seen you in the past, but I believe anytime there's a last name connected to another last name, it probably could be a family member. I know Charles's sister came on yesterday, which was a treat.
Yeah.
And commented. Dean's here. Dean's here almost every day. Wonderful guy. You know, after a while, if you're here enough, all the superficial and early judgments disappear. And people find you to be a great neighbor, a great friend. You know what I mean? And someone who's there, someone who cares, and someone who brings, you know, a smile, a joke. We got another LinkedIn user, genuinely happy to be here with you all. Well, you know, if you can get happy early, you can maybe stay happy later. You know, so from here, you take that happiness with you. There is a paddle for everyone's behind. Tillman Frittata says, well, you know, and to Kelly's point, you should never feel too good about yourself, but you definitely should never feel too bad about yourself, you know? So when you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself, maybe there's something to being humble, modest. And when you're getting down on yourself, you know, ask yourself what you were worried about 30 days ago today or a year ago. You can't remember, and you won't remember today's minor inconveniences. And until you've seen what other people deal with and go through, you know, this is like a walk in the park, what most people are dealing with, you know, and it's all relative.
That's right.
What do you think, Kelly?
I mean, so many things of what you just said, but one of the things that really stuck out as you were talking in you know, community and what we want to be saying about here, what I love about this show, what it's done with other connections that I've had here on LinkedIn, true deep connections. I mean, I honestly have made lifelong friendships on this show. No doubt. And one of the things that was said that will stick with me forever, and that I have spoken to with other people that I've spoken to off this show, doing, you know, Zoom calls or phone calls, is Kim said to me, or not Kim, I'm sorry, Cindy. I do want to quote the right person, because we met through Jason on here, and at the end of it, when we finally talked offline, she just said, what I love that happened here is we're just two humans that connected. We knew nothing about the other person. I didn't know. I mean, I knew that she was like, I knew likely her job because she had so many letters after her name, and knew what they were. So I had an idea, but I had no preconceived notion of who she was as a person. And she the same. She didn't know. We just knew that we both knew Jason, and we both had a friendship with Jason. And that part to me will stand forever. And what I think happens here is that people are connecting on a human level. It's not, nobody's coming here and going, ooh, why is Dean the potato guy here? Like, what's he doing in the house? It's like Dean the potato guy is in the house. Like, it's so great. No, there is no prejudgment. There's no, I don't, it's beautiful, and I love everything about that. And I want to say something that my mentee said to me this weekend that really stuck out, and it reminded me again of this show. And it goes back to its core. I had kind of a rough week last week, and based on what was going on with my mentee, and had a little bit of a bouncy weekend. But we were sitting at lunch and connecting, just the two of us. And she's 16 years old and looks at me and says, I'm sitting here and I'm just feeling good. And I was like, that's great. And why? What's making you feel really good right now? And the deep thing that comes out of this kid's mouth is, well, it's because when I'm with you, I feel safe, which makes me feel supported. And she goes, and maybe this sounds really weird, but then it makes me feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I go, you have no idea how wise that is. And of course she was like, really? And I'm like, yes. I go, that is so wise beyond your years to understand that, because that's wonderful that you're able to even express that, because you're in community. And I didn't say it like this to her, but this is what this is, and what I say I feel all the time. When you're in community, you feel supported, which makes you feel safe, which makes you feel confident to go do more things, to try more things, because we're not as afraid of failure, because failure is not at the forefront of our mind anymore. What's at the forefront of our mind is, I'm supported, I can go do stuff, because I'm not going to fall on my face, because I've got a community around me that's protecting me. And it just hit me so powerful with her, because I did think it was quite wise for her to see it that way. But it was also to hear it back, because that's what I sit here and I say when I come on the show all the time. But then to hear a kid repeat it back with she doesn't know I do this, never has seen one, knows nothing. I mean, she does know I do some broadcasting, but has no idea. So I just thought that was really interesting, but it does go back to the whole thing of what you were just saying before, Dawn, and what this whole community is. And that's the part that I love about it. And maybe that's what goes into being proactive today is, hey, what is it that you haven't been doing that you've wanted to do? Now you've got your community around you. What are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go do something. Get something on that list that you've been waiting to do, and go do it. Start it. Or if you haven't written it down, write it down. I love that Charles said yesterday, and he said this so many times, and I know many others have also said this, dreams are just dreams. Unless you put them on paper, they become goals. And that is just a truth. There's something about putting it on paper that you are more apt to make it happen. And, so put that list together and go do it. Start doing it. What are you waiting for? And I'll go in another direction, because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. This could be it. And do you want to go? And granted, I don't mean this to sound morbid by any means, but do you want to go wishing you would have done something else? Like, why not try? The worst that can happen, and I think this of myself, is even the things that I have not done well at, or maybe that people would consider failure. And I also love Charles's thing on failure. Failure is your own report card, or your own feedback. Learn from it. That's where we learn the most, or on those lows, to become better. So the more that we're, doing that, the more that we're living this life. And I think someone somewhere along the way made this connection, which I also loved, is, a heartbeat is up and down. That's what life is. So that's what our life does. and embrace it and be okay with it. I do think there's so much about how we perceive all these negative words, because are they really negative? Or are we just making them negative because failure is a bad word? So I can't be a failure, but it's not failure. Ooh, this didn't work. We need to figure out how to do this better. And that goes business agile, fail fast. I haven't learned to embrace it. I don't like to fail. I like to succeed just like anybody else. Um, but it's part of the process, right? What are your thoughts, Don? I know I just.
I think you got 5 shows worth of comments from me coming out of what you just said, which is really impressive. And my thoughts is that either you're learning or you're earning, right? You're never losing, you're never failing, because you are moving. That's what proactive is, to move forward, not to win, right? Is to get to a better place than where you are, be a better person than where you are. And I think being proactive about being proactive is important, because the difference between thinking and writing means you're making some sort of commitment now.
Yeah.
Right now you're closing out your thoughts and say, I'm going to put them on paper. Then you look at on paper and you have to say, well, when am I going to take action against these? And what I learned, and it's all perspective, because things that I used to get discouraged by or disparaged by, I just put them in different context. And let's say you got a root canal in a week, right?
Cool.
Well, for 7 days, you're going to be thinking about how tough that is, right? Or what you're going to have to go through. But if you look at it and say in 8 days, it's all over.
Yes.
So instead of saying I'm going to fear for 7 days, I'm going to count the days to 8 and it's done. And anything in between will be over. And if you know when it's over, when you know when it begins, it gives you some certainty and confidence, right? If someone says it's going to rain until 3 a.m, well, you're going to have to put up with rain until then, but at 3:01, it's probably going to get better. And if you know things are going to get better, you can deal with anything the way you are, and to your point, no one gets out of here alive, right? If we're all sitting there and everybody knew that one day we're just not going to be here, you would say, why not use up what you were given? Why not apply what this experiment is, And I would, like I say, there's a song and a lot of people don't align with it, but it's the next thing to playing and winning is playing and losing, because it's the playing that makes the most sense. I mean, how many times did you have fun going bowling and you didn't even keep score? I mean, you didn't even care, whether it was 80 or 150. And it was just being with people throwing the ball around, and when I took my grandkids bowling and they were all thrown in the gutter, and I said, well, it's just a matter of lifting the ball and throwing it. After you throw it, you've done your share. Whatever the pins do, that's up to them. And if and that's where people feel failure, is when someone says, did you know you just failed? And you didn't even think of it.
Right.
Or you're a failure and you'll never be this and you'll never be this. And if that keeps getting pounded into your head, just because of the influence, not because you believe it.
That's right.
And I think what you reflected with your mentee is a new projection that in subtle ways you may not even see it starting to ripple to others, but they pick up on things that aren't words, right? Yep. Pick up on energy. They pick up on proximity. They pick up on when something bad happens, they look at you and say, how are you going to deal with this? Right? And that's where modeling is everything. But to model, you've got to be worthy of being a model. Right? If you want to represent something and project something and promote something, you've got to be the something or it won't last.
Right.
Right. So why not build with people? Kelly's right. You can take people's conversation, and I think that's valuable. You can take people's companionship, and that's even more valuable, right? Because you don't want to know what someone heard when you're going through trouble. You want someone there with you.
Yeah.
Right. That you can call, that you can share. And I think what we're saying is this is a safe place that we stand guard on, No one is going to be here a second longer than they have to if someone does something disrespectful. And that's how I put on the comments on the screen so no one sneaks in, or interrupts us. And everybody should be diligent too, should be standing guard to protect us, because this is somewhat sacred, because it's doing so much for so many people, and it can do so much more if we become the agent of change through the sharing of what is already there. Charles was on yesterday, and then commented on like 120 comments, right? And commented, did actually better than I did, as far as personalizing every comment to the person. And that's someone who's going over and above, someone who's modeling, because you know what it did? It encouraged me to be more mindful.
Yes.
And to comment. And what I did is I made sure everybody who commented got a full comment back. Now, the people who did 10 of them was a little bit harder, but it still was something that's reciprocal, and when all you got to do is do a little bit of something big to make it get bigger through the people you're working with.
Yes.
Right now, it's not on your shoulders, right? All you did was push it along to the next person like a bucket line. In old days of fire departments, they just had bucket lines. People just kept handing it off, and eventually it did its job. But let me share some of the people we have here. Pauline, we just talked about. Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to have you. Dean, we'll just shoot through these. LinkedIn, generally happy to be here. Roxanne, there's a battle for everyone's behind. And there's so many cool sayings and things, and can be applied to certain ways. But if it keeps you on track, it's worthwhile. I can be grumpy, but I'm happy. You have to choose happiness. You got to work hard at happiness. Feeling unhappy is easy.
Amen.
Like in a blizzard, opening a door, it's going to be easy to get cold snow all over. You got to, protect yourself, and you got to choose. And then you got to be your best friend. You got to say to yourself, how do I honor myself so much? How do I spoil myself this way? How come I'm not harder on myself like other people? You can say that because you can do that. If all you say is you're worthy, you are so worthy, and you know it, and you do know it, that should be enough. Now put it to bed, and let's go. Let's get proactive. Let's make something happen. Once you get somebody out of the rut, you want them to get going. You don't pull somebody out of a ditch and they just sit there for another 6 hours. I mean, they could have sat in the ditch for 6 more hours, and it's just life experiences that you so easily understand.
Yeah.
And mostly people pay too much attention. Oh, they dropped their ice cream on their sweater. I mean, that's what they're thinking now when someone didn't slurp right, instead of not even thinking about it or thinking that's pretty funny. Yes, it can be everything is difficult until it's easy. And it's only easy when you take action against it. Some of the worst fears go away once you're through it 7, 8 times. No matter how awful it is, once you've been through it that many times, you just understand it. You don't appreciate it. You don't look forward to it, but you say, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what's going to happen. And here's how I'm going to live through it. And you're not supposed to come out of here. You might be born with perfection, but you don't have to leave with perfection.
And if you did, you didn't live. I mean, let's just be honest about that.
You know what? You got a better story to tell. I did this. I never thought it would happen. I was right. But I did it, And
Right.
how many times when you're young, you're dumb, you say, I don't know how I ever did that but I was so happy doing it. I thought it was the right thing. Give yourself options while you plan your exit. If you're proactive, you're always on the move, right?
Yes.
I think the problem of things are easier said than done. I see this all the time in the finance space. People regurgitate things that sound nice and do opposite things in reality. Well, a lot of people have used bad things to get to where they are.
Yeah.
Right? And their conflict is always, I know it's bad, but I make out with it. But that's a philosophy that minuses everywhere you go with everybody you're with instead of pluses.
Yeah.
why would you want to take what isn't yours from somebody who can't afford to give it?
Mhm.
So now you can buy something you really don't need and got a lot of, right? It just keeps working worse as it gets bigger, because the disparity is so great. Your analogy now comparing life to a racing team, love it. Thank you. Any
So
way that people can better understand. Uh, Fabian is here. I haven't seen Fabian in a long time. Fabian's a great guy. Success is the other side of fear. Really insightful content as usually. Listening in from the UK. Kim, having technical issues. Sorry, Kim. I wish I could help you on that, but with this LinkedIn Live, it could happen anytime. Anna Regina's here. I haven't seen you in a while or at all, maybe. Thank you for joining. Hi from the city. It's called Cordoba, and it's the south of Spain. Nice to hear you guys. Let's go for smiles, happiness, and love for everyone. Well, that is
yes.
just a wonderful way of joining the conversation and becoming a new member that's has the VIP card of happiness, love, and kindness for others.
Yes. But doesn't that speak like just volumes? Like this goes back to the whole thing because we have seen quite a few new names that I haven't seen before. Is just the part of this show that's so great, and I love that she just said that because that's what we're trying to promote. This is what everyone on the planet. I don't care where you are, what you're going through, what your path is, however you want to state it. We are all here and we all need the same thing as human beings. We all need community to feel supported, to feel safe, and to share love. That's just what we need. And I love, 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 love that Anne just said that because it to have it come back in words. I don't know about you, Don, but it fills my soul like in such a great way, and it makes me say, "This is exactly why I'm here." And it makes me feel so great, regardless of the topic that we talk about, which I think they're always important. But they all come back to those basic things, and I love it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's really a work of beauty,
Yes.
and when you move beyond business to art, when you're actually creating something that's artful, something that's, you know, unique because of the mosaic that it is. It's, if it was one person, that would be unduplicatable,
Mhm.
and that one person would be challenged to be so much smarter every day
And
than
bored.
the day before to bring more value. But when you bring people that instantly get it, because I'm sure, this is like, I look back actually, and now it's 10 months every day. I forgot how many months. I just kept saying 7 or 8. So after 300 straight LinkedIn lives,
You're amazing.
you get comfortable with the audience, you get comfortable with the format. Plus, tomorrow's another one with new people. So no matter how this goes, it's not the do all or end all. If you have one event every quarter or every month, and if that doesn't come together, you're out a month until the next one, plus everything you did. And this is if you make it about the people, every day is going to be dynamic because every day is dynamic change for everybody. No one knows what today is going to bring. People are going to do things they never thought possible. Things are going to happen to people that they never thought were possible. And every day you got to pick yourself up and get back in the game. And that's why if you look at like sports, if you look at a boxing fight, these guys get in the ring for 3 minutes. I can't watch it either. It's grotesque how barbarian it is. But I don't want to offend any boxing fans. But what I do notice is not the fight, but what happens during the rounds. Is the fighter ends up sitting on a stool. He's got 2, 3 people throwing water at him, fixing his cut. I mean, they're there to give him the best, get back in there and do it. And I'm saying this is everybody's corner people.
Yes.
You get into a rut, get to the corner, get the 2, 3 people who are really good and motivated to help people, because the hardest thing in helping people is people allowing you to help them by sharing what it is they need.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, I'm depressed. And it's like, okay, well, there's a zillion things that would cause that. What is the first thing that tipped your scale today that makes you hard to get into balance? Because, it's like people who need fitters, right? I mean, some people just need people to fit them up, whether it's going on a trip, an expedition or whatever it is. And you can then reach out to people, and people want to show, because in the audience you're contributing your feedback, but outside the audience now you get a chance to contribute the real you to the person. So I would say if Amber is here almost every day, she's here for us every day too, and
Yes.
she'll be here for us after this, right? And that's what you want to do. Like Kelly said, lifelong friends. Well, all these friends have been developed in 3 months. Just think what the friends of the friends will show up and how the friendships will blossom. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a beautiful garden with flowers that make everybody in that garden more important in a beautiful way to themselves and everybody around them, right? It's like finishing school in a way. Come in here, and before you know it, you're going to come out with confidence, with belief, with happiness, because if you know the money's in the bank, you act differently than if the money isn't in the bank, right? You got to reserve a goodwill and so many friends and buddies who just waiting for the call and hoping it never comes, right? If you have an issue, let me know, but I wish it doesn't happen. But here's Ambambola. Can't say enough about her, because kind of being proactive is persistency too. So every word connects to another. You got to keep doing it consistently. Anything with leaves on it seemed to encourage something that is needing it to grow. So Kim Wheatley, same here, just got back on again. Christy, love that, Kelly, about your mentee. Well, there are so many tragedy to triumph stories and things that have to happen along the way. Nothing happened overnight. Typically, nothing's going to go away overnight. And it's just working with and through things. I've learned so much in 2 weeks being in this community. I wouldn't have known about Don and his live shows if it wasn't for Ambambola. Well, that's proof positive that what's good for you is good for people like you. If it's nourishing your soul, if it's making you more confident, if today proactive becomes something you're starting to throw around in your mind and say, how do I apply this now? Because it's no different if someone says, hey, look at over there, that bald eagle, and everybody will look. End up seeing it or not, but all of a sudden a bald eagle got into their head and their attention got redirected. And maybe they see a beautiful bird and enjoy it. Wow, Kelly, you define community, define beautifully. Thank you. This feedback and third-party validation and confirmation is so important, because when we say something, it's what we believe we should say. But when you say something saying that was beautiful, we know it was the right thing to say. So we picked the right menu item. Insightful thoughts, Pauline Elder Morris says, firm believer that we must create opportunities for ourselves. I try to always remember whatever is going on in my world is minutes compared to so many others, and keeping this foremost of my thoughts helps to maintain the position. Well, I think, what you're saying is short-term things will be short-term.
Yeah.
And compared to long-term things that won't change, there's a massive difference, and be thankful for less in some ways is better than more, especially when it comes to that. Kim says, wow, Kelly, okay, we talked about that. I'm going to work on my list. Thank you for the motivation. Well, like me and Kelly says, if we get one person to smile more than they would have, laugh more, think more, do more, be more, and everybody has a little bit of that combined, it's huge. Yes, failures are frowned upon. Our failures are our yardsticks and should be learning opportunities. Evaluate the situation, determine what did not work so well, and move from that point. And that's how
love it.
How cars are made, right? They start with clay.
Yes.
They start with a bunch of clay and they start scraping it. Eventually, maybe they get something and then they build something in wood or plastic, and then eventually they scale it. But they have to start that way. And what it says is there's more to be done. It's not you're not good enough. There's more to there's more to the beauty. There's more to the joy. And if you really believe the destination is there, everything along the way is secondary. Lillian Amberbo welcomed us into her community and this platform of brilliant, amazing people. What a gift. When Ambimbola, for your own benefit, so many people will always remember you as being the first one, right?
Yes.
You know, the first concert you ever went to, the first date you ever went on, you know, and when you're the first one, you're always going to be,
Special.
oh yeah, and appreciated and remembered. And that's why not only remembered, but promoted, like Kim just said, to give Ambimbola the credit. And I think being proactive is giving more credit first, responding to credit, because again, it doesn't happen as much, doesn't happen as fast. Why not speed up the delivery process? Right? You know, everything like Amazon, same day, you know, delivery, you can be 5 to 7 or whatever, or pay for extra delivery. Same thing with our message. As soon as you get it, throw it to somebody. Don't keep it. You know, you ever play dodgeball and a person just hugged the ball and sat down and everybody just waited? Wouldn't happen. They'll take it from you.
Yeah, I want to say with Kim before we go on to the next comment, because I've spoken to Kim offline, and she did tell me the story. Like, it was a very divine way that she came to this show. And it was through Ambimbola, but it was one of those things that it was like weird how it ended up on her feed, or however it was. It was just one of those things that all these little pieces sort of lined up, and she ended up here, and then was like, oh my gosh, like, I needed this in my life right now. And it's those stories to me, and like you just said just before, and we've said this many times, if it's one person that leaves here feeling better than when they arrived, which I've always challenged everyone, just come one time, and if you leave not feeling better, we need to have an offline talk. Because I challenge you to not leave feeling better than you did when you arrived. I just know for Dawn and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know we've talked about this so much. One person that does that, we feel like job done. And also, I know that 2 people always leave here feeling better. And that's the 2 of us, or whoever is on the show, or if there's 3, that we always feel better when we leave. Like, I feel so full right now, I can't even begin to explain. And I know my mom's going to be here shortly, and I'm going to spend part of my day with her. That we are going to have the most amazing, silly day together. And I'm looking so forward to it. But I know starting off and then just, bursting with joy and just love and such pride of what's happening here, and all the connections I've made here, and the people that I've met, and that I will continue to meet. I love seeing all these new names. And please, friendly reminder right now, pre-vetted people are in the chat. Please connect with them. Send Dawn and I connection requests. We're here for that also. And also to talk with people. So feel free to reach out, send us a DM. And people can say, I actually really do talk to you offline and do make connections. So I don't know. It makes me so happy. And it's interesting. We started off being proactive, and when you say something like, be proactive about being proactive, and it's like, that's so true. So what is it that you're going to be proactive about today? I kind of want to hear. Even if you don't answer it right now, please come back later in the comments and share. We'd love to know what you guys are being proactive about, or maybe what you need help being proactive about. We're here to help with that too. That's what the community is for. So please utilize it. And just know that we're all here to help. This is a non-judgment zone, which is the other part that makes it so beautiful. So what can we do to help you today? That's me being proactive. I want to help you do something. And if I can, I'm more than happy to. If I have a connection I can give you, I'm happy to do that as well. What are your thoughts on that, Dawn?
I think there's a lot of wonderful ways to be proactive, like you mentioned, and it does feed my soul. And just like breakfast is so important every morning, this is so important now as part of my day. This is not work. This is not a distraction. This is my priority, because where else are you lucky enough to find a family like this that's of so many wonderful, like-minded people that have such a calming influence, like Charles? We were talking about him before the show. Paul. There's so many people that they just never got the spotlight on them. They were always worthy of it. And now they're getting a super spotlight put on them in front of so many wonderful people who have the ability. Like I say, if there's 900 million people on LinkedIn, and let's say there's 50 people who watch this show, or let's say more like 100, and let's say everybody has 10,000 connections, right? That's over. If everybody just reached out to their network, there'd be 10 million people that learned about this.
Yeah.
And how hard is that to find 10 people? You say, I just watched this show. I think you might have an interest and blah, blah, blah. And eventually, like yesterday, I met a new lady, Lachelle Atkins, who's going to be on Friday with Christy. I won't give her whole story away, but a wonderful lady, has 15 kids.
God bless her.
You know, coach, and her label or handle is Supermom, and she's got the experience, but you know, is just a perfect fit for us, because now that I know what a good cross section of everybody here is, I'm just matching it up with people who have inspiring stories, who want to share it, want people to learn and grow from it. And actually, I just, you know, I've never promoted anything, but what I've decided is I put together a couple collaboration programs that are monthly program, 1 month at a time, or even just 1 month. And I'm only going to take 2 or 3 people, because I want to really see how I can duplicate this through others and get more people on the runway, get more people to launch, get more programming, more events. I mean, this is the foundation. When you see the finished skyscraper that goes on top of this, and every floor will be built with beautiful, wonderful people holding on to each other while they're holding on to the next floor. That construction is so beautiful. And you can talk about buildings, but you can also talk about self-image. You can talk about building internally. You're your biggest skyscraper. You should shine the brightest, you know. And here's one thing I think Kelly made a good point. Today's topic is being proactive. Well, yesterday's topic, I forget what it was already, but I think it was forgiveness. The one before was empathy. Don't fear failure. Any one of those, if you took action on, would be a great response to us, because you can take a day or two and say, how do I get proactive? Become proactive. How do I become more forgiving, right? Who did I forgive today that I should? After a while, you're going to run out of people to forgive, because there weren't that many. They might have done a lot, but there's not that many of them. 5, 10, 20 in your life. Once you get to 20, you're starting to split hairs, I think. But the point is you free, if you're going to get all this abundance and all this love coming in, you need to make room. I mean, if you had 60 of your favorite relatives showing up today, right? You got to make sure there's a place to sleep, a place to eat, activities. You know, make that place for yourself. Reserve your own room at your own 4 seasons inside yourself. To say, I don't have time for this clutter. I got too many beautiful things coming in here. It has to go. It's not a choice anymore, because if it doesn't go, what's coming in won't get in. Mm-hmm. Right? And I can't do that to myself. I deserve what I deserve, and I deserve probably more than I've gotten. But that doesn't matter, because that's only where the score began. This is where the score goes.
Right.
You know, and that's so beautiful, because you never appreciate success and happiness as much as when you didn't have it. You know, a mountain is only as big as the valley that it rises above, and a valley is only as deep as the mountain it compares itself to, you know. And everybody's been in valleys. Everybody will go back to valleys. Mm-hmm. But have you ever climbed a mountain? Right? That takes being proactive. And more importantly, how do you climb and with who? Yeah. Right? Wouldn't it be great? Hey, we're going to Europe, 20 of our best friends, and this is, you know, and they're all going to bring all their different talents. It's going to, you know, you could be anywhere. The destination isn't as important as who's on it with you. And right. This is a choice to say, hey, I'd like some of these people to get on my bus, and I'd like to get on their bus and see where they're going. And that's where events start coming in. I know Charles is doing a event with JD Gerstbein. I hope I said it right. Next Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 9:30 Eastern. And I love to see people do more on their own. This is not to keep people down. It's to get people to fly and come back and share where they just flown to, like a travel log.
Right.
Let me share this journey. And if you can picture things, if you can visualize things, then you can get proactive, because when they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And if you've got something that's important to you, and now you've got a group that you may not have had before, and you've got a platform and a voice, how much could that change the way you used to do things with all this extra horsepower behind you? So let me just finish the words, and we'll finish with Kelly's final comment. I saw this post yesterday. He talks about both failure and vision. Well, that's great. I think people should go to the comments of the post, and you can copy this and paste it. But I do appreciate it, Mike, because you're being proactive by thinking for us, right? And throwing something into that stone soup we always talk about.
Yes.
Ambola, there's always something to learn, take home every day. A perfect example of continuous learning. Life is supposedly continuous, right? If you're going to move with proactivity and confidence, absolutely. Isn't any slurp inherently wrong? I guess that goes back to the ice cream. That's how far behind we are. I remember feeling like my head was a cement block. Nothing was penetrating. I read the training material 10 times. Eventually, it started to make sense. Don't stop at the first attempt.
That's right.
Give yourself time and grace to affect change. Roxanne, so valuable. I talked to Don one-on-one 2 or 3 years ago, and I circled back about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I find it interesting. I cannot tell you all why. That is happening so often. Made so many good connections, had so many conversations, but no way to connect together. And most people think when they connect on LinkedIn, it's to buy something, sell something.
Yes.
Most of the people you run into will not be clients, but they could be great referral agents.
That's right.
And they could be great knowledge agents.
Yes.
So don't think that the money is where it's at. Think of the exchange of knowledge, of support. That's invaluable, because you don't know what it could save you from. That's or right. Create something for you. Anna Regina says, I feel so much love for you guys. It makes me so happy. Love is so easy, but so scarce. I deleted 20. That's great. Here we go with Amjust. Thanks for your wonderful insight. I'm grateful, and thank you for all. Kim, Kelly, thank you so much for sharing my story, connecting with the group. I will say, when you pray for something, expect it to come, because it will. Believe. And it happens over and over again. And, belief is something that is like gravy. Why not apply it? Why not give it every boost you can? We are so glad you joined us. Okay, so here we have Kelly, thank you. Okay. Kim. Okay, so that covers it. We're a little bit over. I want to thank everybody. I want to have Kelly share any final thoughts. Again, this is the fastest hour. I mean, you blink and geez, an hour went by.
I know, such a blessing. I just want to say, like, this honestly is like starts my day with the greatest hug. I love it so much. And what I've started ending the show, well, first of all, going back to being proactive, go be proactive at something. Share in the comments later. Let us know how we can help, what you're doing, make recommendations to others. Hope that's what we're all here for. And my final thought is always going to be wrapping up with, go out and shine so bright that others can't help but shine too. So grateful that everyone was here today.
Well, thank you, Kelly. You are a shining light, and it gets only brighter with time, and everybody's starting to notice it. So I'm so pleased and honored to have you on and to have everybody with us, because this is like Thanksgiving every day of the week. We're all come together and celebrate and feel joy, and any little thing is a big thing multiplied over time. Yeah. So if you put a little pep in your step, if you put an extra smile on, just a little tuning up, add it one more level, and now all the things are coming in. Kelly, virtual hugs, awesome. Linda has been a great morning listening. Linda is such a wise soul.
She
has
is.
so much wonderful, loving experience and putting an extra topping to add to your ice cream to enlighten and brighten your day. Have a fabulous day ahead. Mine is rehearsing for Sunday songs. Well, it's so great when you find things to give you joy, and it's usually through community. It's usually through support, and it's all around you. And if it's not all around you, it is here, right? So we love having you, and we love everything you do, because without the comments, me and Kelly would run out of steam after about 15 minutes. You just keep us energized. Virtual hugs back to you, Mike. Pauline says, wonderful. Thanks for everything. Come back and share and bring others. Right? You can't lose, because at least you're going to share what you're passionate about. Maybe that'll give people understanding of why you put this time in, who you're spending time with. I mean, when you're a kid and you have wonderful friends, you take them home, right? And have milk and cookies or play with them. Be innocent again. Find all these playmates in this playground and find ways to throw the ball to the next person that isn't used to getting the ball. And I think that's important. Is you can give something that is so wonderful to you to someone else, and you both get joy from them getting joy. With that said, we'll end it because this has been great. They're getting so enjoyable, warm, comfortable, and generous on somebody's parts. I mean, you people are philanthropists with what you're bringing to other people in ways that you can't even put a price on. So thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. Get proactive about as much as you can, and share it with us when we come back tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll have Kelly and a new gentleman, Dan Portick, who's actually really strong in negotiation. So bring a little bit of that aspect to it. So I'm going to say goodbye before I start talking anymore.